Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about my summer TBR and how I did with it. And as you can see, it was quite stacked. So let's get into the books and the stats. So we're going to start out with the stats. In July, the first month of my third quarter summer TBR, I had 8 books on my TBR list to read for the month. Out of these 8, I managed to read 5. And overall, looking at my read books of the month, 58% of those were from my physical TBR that I'm working on. During July, I had 2 books checked out from the library and I did not read one of those, so 0% of my reading in July were library books. In August, I had 6 books on my TBR and I read all 6 of these books, which I think has never happened before, so thanks to the Magical Readathon. And overall, of all the books that I've read in August, 60% were from my physical TBR. Again, I had 2 books checked out from the library for August and I did not read any of those 2 books, so again 0% of my reading were library books. And then lastly, for September, I had 7 books on my TBR for September, and out of these 7 I managed to finish 5. And overall, looking at all the books that I read in September, 70% of those were books from my physical TBR, and then 10% of the books were from my library TBR because I managed to read one of the 2 books finally. So as you can see, my reading went really well for the summer month, having over 50% of my books, pretty much 60% of my books being from my physical TBR for each month is amazing. This has been the best time so far this year, and I'm very happy about that because I actually managed to reduce my TBR quite a bit during the summer. So now let's get through the books and discuss which ones I've read and which ones I haven't read and what will happen with these unread books. So starting with the ones that I don't own physically, and those would be the 2 series that I wanted to read this summer. The first one being the Drowning Empire series, consisting of The Bone-Shard Daughter, The Bone-Shard Emperor, and The Bone-Shard War by Andrea Stewart. I read all of those and I gave each one 4 stars. The second series was the Founders trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, consisting of Foundryside, which I gave 4 stars, Shorefall, which I gave 4.5 stars, and Loglands, which I gave 5 stars. So I have read this series as well. And now let's go through this. I had 2 books that I kind of carried over from my spring TBR. The first one being Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. I have read this and I gave it 4 stars. And then the second one being Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I have read this and I gave it 3 stars. And now, in no particular order, just the rest of the books. The Children of Húrin by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have read this and I gave it 3 stars. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I have read this and I gave it 5 stars. Gacha Gotcha by Vivek Shanbhag. I have read this and I gave it 3 stars. Blackout by Danielle Clayton, Nick Stone, Tiffany D. Jackson, Ashley Woodfolk, Angie Thomas, and Nicola Yoon. I have read this and I gave it 4 stars. Heimat, Deine Sünde by Horst Lapp. I have read this and I gave it 2.5 stars. Grave Secrets by Katie Reichs. I have read this and I gave it 4 stars. The Handsworth Times by Sharon Dougal. I have read this and I gave it 2 stars. The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. I have read this and I gave it 2 stars. Me and White Supremacy by Lila F. Saad. I have started this. I realized that I'm not the biggest fan, and so I'm taking my time with it. I'm pretty much halfway through. We'll see. I will finish it this year. Peril at End House by Agatha Christie. I have not read this one, and so this will stay on my TBR for next year. The Next Step in the Dance by Tim Gautreaux. I have not read this, and this will also stay on my TBR for next year. 3 Cups of Tea by Greg Mortensen and David Oliver Bellin. I have not read this. I might still read it this year, maybe for Nonfiction November, or otherwise it will stay on my TBR for next year. So overall, I have only 3 books left for next year, probably, which is the best I have ever done with one of these monthly TBRs, I'm pretty sure. I'm like very surprised. I don't even know how I did it. I even read more books from my physical TBR that weren't on the summer TBR, because there was this readathon where we're supposed to read German books. So I read 2 more books by German authors that originally were in other months. And so yeah, that's so impressive to me. Like, I did really well this summer. I'm so proud of me. So yeah, it's time for the final TBR of the year. So this will probably be up already when you watch this, and then we'll see how I did overall this year. But after this stack of books that I finally got rid of my TBR, I'm very happy. So yeah, thank you for watching. Leave a like or a nice comment, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!